Can suiting up give you a leg up at work? A number of recent studies suggest a link between dressing better and working better. Here to tell us more is WSJ's style reporter, Ray Smith. So, Ray, tell us about a few of these studies. What did researchers measure exactly?
Sure. They looked at participants who were dressed up clothing, like suits, for instance, versus casual clothing, in some cases sweatpants or sweatshirts. And they looked at two scenarios. One is like a competition over a real estate asset, and the other was simple tasks, like sort of identifying whether that person would approach the task with abstract thinking, which is like big picture thinking, like a boss would, or somebody in higher management would, or if they focus on the small details, which somebody basically on a lower status would do. And so they found that people who dressed better, who dressed in suits or were dressed up, performed better at these tasks. They thought big picture, or when they were negotiating for the sale of the assets, they conceded less, there were less in concessions, and they gained more in profit.
Fascinating. So is the effect both external and internal, meaning it actually changes the way you think, but also changes the way people relate to you?
It's both, exactly.
Okay.
You get a certain kick, like you almost feel a little more empowered when you're dressed up in the traditional modes of like suits or heels even. You just feel a little bit more extra powerful. But also people perceive you when you're dressed that way as having more influence or somebody who's more important.
Ah, no wonder I'm wearing my power heels right now. But Ray, let me ask you something. What effect does it have if you work in an environment that is casual as opposed to an environment that's already sort of formal?
That's a really good question. I mean, the risk is that you show up in an office that is sort of casual and you're dressed up and everybody automatically assumes, are you interviewing for another job?
Right. Or
you look too dressed up. And so that's the risk. And so in those cases, you want to turn it up a notch, but not too much. So it might be a nice cashmere sweater over your Oxford shirt.
So don't show up in a three-piece suit and tie if you're working with people who normally show up in hoodies, right?
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly.
So you do have to calibrate it somewhat to your surroundings.
Yes, you do. But all the time keeping it a step up, but not going too far with it.
So if you're Mark Zuckerberg, then it doesn't matter what you wear. Is he the outlier?
He's the outlier.
Okay.
If you have that much power or you own the company, you have a lot more leeway.
So is there something powerful then in not wearing the tie?
There is something powerful in that. There is an assumption that somebody who can get away with that must have the credentials or to get away with that. So yes.
Okay, so how would you then break this down for sort of the average worker? What should we do? Just add one or two pieces that are sort of good quality material? What do you suggest?
Yes, I think that's important to maybe have a nice watch could make a difference, for instance, or a right pair of eyeglasses, or a polished scarf, or just these little accessories, if you will. Your shoes being new, polished, looking neat. All these little things that can just make a little difference.
What about fit?
Fit is important. I mean, a lot of men will think that I'm wearing a suit, so I'm okay. I'm dressed up. But if that suit doesn't fit properly, you can look really slouchy or sloppy. So fit can play a key role in terms of just that little thing.
I like these takeaways. Make sure your fit is sharp. Make sure you have one or two sort of high quality items, right? Yes. It's not about the full Monty. It's just about sort of subtle, correct items, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, Ray, you're the perfect person to tell us. Again, you always look great. Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you.